Thanks for joining us. Ottawa once again urging Canadians in Lebanon to get out. It comes as Israel continues airstrikes in the region, vowing to keep up the assault. Lebanese officials say across the country, 105 people were killed. They say in 2 weeks, 1,000 people have died, 6,000 wounded. They say 1 million, a fifth of Lebanon's population, have now fled their homes. The World Food Program has begun an emergency operation. Meantime, Israel's military chief of staff said today it needs to keep hitting Hezbollah hard. The federal government says it's booking seats on flights to get Canadians out, but as JP Tasker shows us, with tens of thousands of Canadians at risk, that could prove challenging.
In Beirut, bombs light up the night sky, terrorizing the people who live there.
Oh my God, there's so much panic, there's chaos. There's so much fear.
Lebanese Canadian Ahmed Araji is holed up in the city. It feels a lot less safe than even a few weeks ago when he arrived.
What's happening in Lebanon is beyond words.
And with the death of Hezbollah's leader and thousands fleeing southern Lebanon, the fear is the worst is yet to come.
Israel bombs, Canada pays!
In Ottawa, protesters marched against the bombings. Some have relatives in harm's way.
My family is terrified. As with every Lebanese person, they don't know where Israel is going to strike next.
Ottawa is telling Canadians to get out now before the fighting spirals. A message the government has given for months, now with new urgency.
We're saying to Canadians in Lebanon, please leave now. I can't be more direct than this.
Ottawa has reserved seats on commercial airlines for Canadians and permanent residents who want to leave. The flights get them out of Lebanon, dropping them off in Cyprus. The passengers have to pay Ottawa back for the flight and then find their own way home to Canada.
The bombing of the southern part of Beirut is so enormous, much more than in 2006. I fear for the safety of our citizens.
Louis Delormier helped orchestrate the chaotic and costly evacuation of some 15,000 Canadians and their families in 2006, when Israel and Hezbollah were last at war. He says Canada should do more than arrange flights.
It might get even worse before it gets better. So you have to evacuate now. I think that's the proper thing to do. And Ottawa is not clear on what exactly they're doing.
Ottawa is preparing for a possible evacuation. More military personnel have just been deployed to the region. Any sort of rescue would be by boat from the bombed-out port in Beirut. That's why Ottawa is eager to avoid this kind of evacuation and why they're urging people to get on a plane while they still can. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
Closer to home, it's been a deadly weekend in the GTA with 5 stabbings, the latest happening just a few hours ago. Tyreek Reed was there as police spoke to the media.
Yellow police tape surrounds this townhome in Scarborough after a woman was found stabbed to death inside. Police got the call just before 5 p.m. Sunday in the Orton Park and Ellesmere Road area. Officers found the woman suffering from stab wounds, but she couldn't be saved.
An adult male has since been taken into custody. The homicide squad has taken care of the investigation, and currently there is no threat to public safety at this time.
It's unclear what their relationship was, and so far police are not identifying the man or woman. Neighbors say the news comes as a shock.
I'm just feeling really sad and tragic. Just to think, you live in the neighborhood and you don't know what's going on inside someone's home. So to hear this, it was just really sad.
This is the second deadly stabbing in Scarborough this weekend. Just 24 hours earlier, police found a man suffering from stab wounds inside this parking garage near Brimley Road north of Finch, just 15 minutes away from Sunday's stabbing.
This is currently in the beginning stages of the investigation, and there are a lot of moving parts. A lot of investigators are at the scene. They're currently seeking witnesses, looking for video, and they are in the process of collecting information with regards to any suspect descriptions.
On Sunday, just one police cruiser remained, but neighbors say they're still grappling with the news.
And I was surprised when I heard all the commotion. And then when I came outside, I saw the cops, I saw the ambulance, and to know that somebody literally lost their life in this community, I was very surprised.
Like before, I thought this neighborhood was quiet, but after yesterday, I'm like, anything can happen in the city, to be honest.
According to Toronto police, 5 stabbings took place just this weekend, including one in Moss Park Sunday morning, where the victim is expected to survive.
We would like to reassure the public that we are doing everything we can to keep the public safe.
Police are urging any witnesses to contact them. Tariq Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
The Special Investigations Unit is looking into the death of a 25-year-old man in Bala this morning after he was hit by an unmarked OPP cruiser and later died in hospital. OPP says the man was struck around 6 a.m. on Highway 169. Part of that roadway had to be shut down while police investigated. The officer was also taken to hospital as a precaution. The SIU is asking anyone who may have seen the crash to contact them. Supporters of the Ontario Science Centre coming together at a rally celebrating the building's 55th birthday while also calling on the Ontario government to keep it open.
It doesn't serve the purpose of the people of Ontario. It serves Doug Ford's vision of an Ontario waterfront that has attractions, maybe like a Ferris wheel. Our Science Centre is not an attraction.
CBC asked the province for an update on its plans for the Science Centre, but none was available this weekend. Back in June, you'll remember the province announced it was closing the current site and plans to build a new one at the redeveloped Ontario Place. That's set to open in 2028. Until then, the province has been looking for somewhere to house a temporary centre by 2026. Hospitals in Hamilton have changed the way they take in ambulance patients, and paramedics say it's having a big impact, starting with the Juravinski Hospital.
Their time at the 90th percentile, so 9 times out of 10, that time period, 10% of them were still longer. Their time was over 4 hours to offload an ambulance patient on arrival at the hospital. So they're now down, most recently in July, we have the July report from Ontario Health at 17 minutes. So that's a kind of a transition that we've had.
Paramedics say new processes such as moving hospital beds and shifting how tests are done has helped to lead to dramatic improvements. St. Joseph's Hospital and Hamilton General are getting on board as well. They say in 2022, there were 300 Code Zero calls. That means no ambulance is available. This year, they've had just 2. Sophia is here with our first look at the forecast. Another gorgeous day out there. I can't believe it felt like 31 this afternoon.
Yeah, Shannon, we squeezed out another beautiful September day today. That sun really mixed down all the clouds at the surface into the overnight period. 15, still a little bit of clouds in the way for Monday, especially in parts of southwestern Ontario. Remember, this cloud deck is the northern edge of the remnant moisture of Helene. A lot of tropical moisture coming up from stateside as well, along with that remnant moisture of that system. In fact, we may even have a little bit of mugginess and humidity in the air, especially in parts of southern and southwestern Ontario for Monday afternoon. Look at the humidex. Can't believe we're still talking about a humidex as we almost turn the calendar page to October. Feeling like 27 in Windsor, like 29 in Sarnia, and like 25 in St. Catharines. In fact, it's beautiful right across the board in Ontario for Monday. Beautiful bluebird skies and temperatures that are about 10 degrees above seasonal, like that mid-20s in places like Sudbury and Parry Sound. We've had anomalous warmth, not just for the last few days, but really for the entire month of September. Take southern Ontario, for example. We've had upwards of 25 days above 20 degrees and only a handful of days below seasonal. Things come to a bit of a crashing halt on Tuesday, back down to seasonal. I'll tell you more about that in the long range, and we'll also talk about how you can put these clear skies to use to do a little bit of stargazing and about Earth's mini moon. More on that later on in the show.
A science lesson coming up. Thanks, Sophia. You may have seen this story from earlier this week. Live Nation is planning what's expected to be the biggest purpose-built outdoor concert venue in Toronto. It's a temporary space at the former Downsview Airport next year. But as Nama Weingarten shows us, critics say Live Nation may be taking too big of a bite out of the local music scene.
The newly announced stadium won't be the first Live Nation own in the city. It'll be added to the list, alongside the Budweiser stage, the Opera House, and Danforth Music Hall. But even if you never caught a show in these places, there's a good chance you still interacted with Live Nation anyway, if you bought game or concert tickets on Ticketmaster, which they own. They're the largest player in ticket sales worldwide, and one that's gained quite a reputation recently, not just among music fans.
Where there's surge pricing and things like this that are like demand-based, almost as if you're at a live auction. Like it's a little bit bizarre. I very much long for the days of a face value on the ticket that I buy. Thank you very much.
When I do want to buy a ticket somewhere, it really does suck to know that you don't really have much options.
The Canadian Anti-Monopoly Project says the impact of Live Nation's share of the entertainment industry is far-reaching.
On the consumer side, it's higher ticket cost, it's worse service, it's fewer options. But just as important on the artist side, it's a lower cut of revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and really cutting into your business and your livelihood.
A CBC News and Toronto Star investigation previously revealed the company was working with other resellers to inflate ticket prices. Live Nation was also recently sued by the U.S. Justice Department over allegations of an illegal monopoly on the music industry. Allegations that sparked concerns over its spreading across the border.
There's a fear that the sort of scooping up of small grassroots venues, buying up of these properties by Live Nation might happen up here.
And smaller artists say having to deal with the same company as the Taylor Swifts of the world might not give them a chance to break through.
My biggest worry would be the increasing disconnect from the executives at Live Nation and the artists that are more unknown and that I think deserve a spot.
In a statement, Live Nation said Toronto is a large, vibrant music city with nearly 200 live music venues, of which Live Nation operates just 3%. Adding it books more than 500 shows or more than 50% of their Canadian business in independent venues each year. Going on to say it has invested in historical venues so they aren't turned over for other uses, for example, condos or other commercial development. As for Ticketmaster, they say they don't determine ticket prices. Artists do. Unlike the U.S., there's no federal lawsuit against either companies here. But updates to the Competition Act that passed this summer could change that. In the past, only businesses who were affected by a potential monopoly were able to challenge it at what's called the Competition Tribunal.
What we've changed now is opening up these laws to what they call private access, where either individual companies or groups under a public interest challenge can actually bring cases themselves.
These changes are going to come into force in June of 2025, the very same month that Live Nation's new stadium is expected to hold its first concert. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Toronto.
You're looking at Nathan Phillips Square, where all weekend the Indigenous Legacy Gathering was taking place ahead of National Truth and Reconciliation Day Monday. It's a chance to reflect as well as honor the survivors of residential schools and the children who never returned home. In just a few days, a massive new art installation will open at Exhibition Place. As Telly Ricci shows us, it was all created by a father and son duo as a way to celebrate the cultural and historical significance of Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation.
We are at Centennial Park at Exhibition Place. We're standing in front of an art piece that's been fabricated off-site and delivered and assembled here. We worked in collaboration with Mississaugas of Credit, with Studio TLA and Exhibition Place.
Tell me about some of the symbolism that's represented in this installation.
The name of the piece is called Minnow the Modswin, which means the good life. This piece has, I think, 3 different layers, but actually 4 different components. 3 vertical layers in steel, and then a concrete piece representing fish. Represented are the 6 clan animals, the traditional sacred medicines. In our consultation with Mississaugas of Credit, we asked them what they wanted this piece to be about. This is their traditional treaty land. It's not my treaty land. I'm from the Williams Treaty, northeast of here. Skugog, the Kawarthas, basically. So yeah, I was honored that they entrusted this to me and my son.
And what was that like working alongside your son to make something like so significant in the city?
It's always cool to work with my son. I'm pretty proud of him. He's a successful artist. We complement each other. I think we understand each other's different and distinct styles. Initially, I came up with a very simple sketch, a line drawing, and he kind of took it over from there. We've got several pieces in and around Toronto, less public than this, so this is pretty cool because a lot of people are even going to see it in passing on the Gardiner.
Did you ever think in your career as an artist that you would have a project this big in the city of Toronto?
No, I didn't. I have a few pieces in the city, but nothing of this scale, and certainly nothing this public. The whole truth and reconciliation movement it just brings so much awareness. That's the most meaningful thing to me. Years ago, you wouldn't go, unless you were in Vancouver or on the West Coast, you wouldn't see so much Indigenous art, but now it's everywhere. I'm just glad that people are aware of our history, way more than I grew up knowing what a residential school was. I just assumed everyone did. People my age tell me now, friends tell me, I'd never heard of it until recently. So the focus on that is pretty meaningful.
When people see this installation, what do you hope they think about or speak about afterwards?
I hope it just brings them a sense of peace and calm, to promote something positive as the good life. I think the world needs that now. Up until recent years, there wasn't much of an Indigenous presence in the city, but now, especially through art and music and theater, you see it a lot more than you used to. So I think that's a healthy thing overall.
It was going to be such an unforgettable night of recognition, celebration, and inspiration, where we highlight the strengths, resilience, and the brilliance in our communities.
The Legacy Awards bringing out the star power tonight, a chance to honor and celebrate Canada's Black artists, visionaries, and icons. There's our Dwight Drummond there in the crowd. Award winners and guests on the black carpet sharing what this moment means to them.
We've got worldwide talent that's coming out of Canada that's black, and that's really expressing what black culture means that's specific to Canada, and that's something to celebrate.
I love black excellence. I think there are so many incredible black creators, creatives in the industry, and it's an opportunity for us to be highlighted and showcased on an incredible platform and stage, and I'm just grateful to be one of them.
Tonight is a night where all of us as family that have been supporting each other for years, we get to do it on stage in front of everybody, in front of the country and in front of the world for everybody to see.
Sophia's back, who I feel like teaches us something new with every forecast. Tonight, we're talking about this mini moon.
Shannon, yes, the rumors are true. You know, I love to talk about space and astronomy subjects. And yes, Earth will be getting a new moon, but only temporary. Instead of crashing to Earth, an asteroid named 2024 PT5 will get sucked into Earth's orbit. You can see its projected path there in red, but it will only be for a short time. Anytime from now, September the 29th, till November the 25th, before it gets sucked into the sun's orbit. It's not huge. It's only about 10 meters in diameter, but yes, it will orbit Earth for that short time as a secondary satellite around our planet. It'll be hard to see, though, on most amateur telescopes, but not to worry. 2024 PT5 will be back again in 2025 And even in 2055, and hopefully September of those years is as warm as it has been this month. What a temperature anomaly. In fact, we've been basking in the majority of the days this month that have been upwards of 20 degrees. You'll enjoy another beautiful day on Monday, even with a little bit of humidex in parts of the southwest, but things come down to a crashing halt and we free fall back down to seasonal come Tuesday, even with a little bit of rain. Those are seasonal values in the north. It's this cold front that comes in from the prairies with a bit of cool air behind it. It's going to mean daytime rain Tuesday in parts of northern Ontario, overnight rain in parts of southern Ontario, and it'll be morning commute rain on Wednesday for those of you in the nation's capital region. Over this 12 to 24-hour period, we're only really looking at 10 to 15 millimeters all throughout, and then honestly, we make a really nice recovery after being seasonal Wednesday. We recover with that ridge building come Thursday. You could have a few embedded rumbles of thunder with that system though. Tuesday overnight, and until then, a really nice stretch of weather to do a little stargazing and maybe try to spot our second moon. How cool is that?
It's super cool. We all got to take a look now. Thanks, Sophia. Before we go, neighbors coming together today to say one final farewell to the Leslieville Dollhouse. Have you seen this place? For years, it's brought joy to people young and old. The front yard filled with rows and rows of trinkets, toys, and knickknacks from Buzz Lightyear to Spider-Man, Barbies, and M&M characters. It's all thanks to the owner who called it home for more than 5 decades, truly making it a local landmark. But she recently sold, and the new owners hosted this farewell fundraiser before tackling a major renovation.
House has given so much joy to the youth of the area that there's great alignment to donate to them.
So and I think that, you will see many dolls start to appear on many different lawns on this street. So this is, maybe it'll become the Dollhouse Street.
Keep the legacy going. People could take what they please in return for a small donation. The new owners say all proceeds will go to the MLSC's Change the Game campaign, which works to improve the lives of young people through sport and recreation. There's Pokemon. Well, that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to leave you now with a shot of Windsor, where it's about 19 degrees this evening. Beautiful night there and right across the region.